Hello, my name is Dimitri Simisiroglu. I don't know if I should say the whole thing, but I find it hard to believe that the world doesn't know this clearly about liberals and conservatives and the nature of reality. But someone's got to make the video, right? So, the nature of reality is that there's no method to move across time other than conservation within transformation. So conservation of a center allows for the transformation of the periphery. That's how we see uh, with a clear center of high resolution and lower resolution and unclear periphery as it expands outward. It's like how you make a wheel. So a wheel, you can make a wheel pretty much look like anything as long as it's round. But what I mean by designs, and you can get creative about making pretty wheels and the rest of it, but the center part of the wheel has to be the rules that are conserved and unchanging. And what what the conservation of the center allows for is, it's like, okay, we're going to move across time. Well, how do we do it? Well, we have history and we have records of how we've done it in the past. And there are methods that worked and methods that didn't. And the ones that worked, we conserve. And over time, those become traditions and laws and rules and the rest of it. So that's why we have religions and we have all these institutions that have been conserved because they've worked and they've proven to work to allow us to exist across time, which existence across time is the ultimate meaning. So that we can have a story and not go extinct and the rest of it. So when you look at politics and you have liberals and conservatives, the conservatives, they're the ones that believe in what has been accumulated across time that's worked, and they use that as what needs to be conserved in order to exist across time. And the liberals are about transformation. And if you only have conservation without transformation, then society turns to stone. There's no movement, there's no soul. So that's not good. But then again, if a society is only about transformation and there is no conservation, well, then it just dissipates. It just breaks apart because there's nothing in the center to hold it together. There's no common aim. You can't throw away everything that's worked for the last 2 million years that has allowed us to exist across time and start over. So when you're separating wheat from chaff and when you're funneling down the infinite down to the finite and you're trying to figure out what's the next brick that we're going to lay down so we could step on it and move forward across time, it needs to be done in balance between conservation and transformation. So the liberals that believe in transformation need to understand the purpose and the necessity for conservatives and their ideas for rules and laws and conservation and religion and all the inhibitions and all the barriers that keep us safe, like your house does, or like your bed does, or your blanket, or we use those in order to inhibit the infinite that is too overwhelming and complex. And we use that to shelter ourselves in order to have a space that we can exist in across time. And that's what we use knowledge for, and that's what we have sciences, and that's why we have beliefs and ideas and all the rest of it, right? So that's how that all relates to one another. And when I look at the debates on Trump versus Biden, and the conservatives versus the liberals, and you can see how the conservatives are always talking about, you know, we need the wall, we need the borders, we need to pull ourselves in. We need to be nationalistic and take care of our country, and we have to take care of our own. And like they're fleeing from transformation, and they're barricading themselves into conservation. And the reason they're doing that is because in the last 8 years, the West has abandoned conservation, and they've gone 100% into transformation, as far as to not even conserve the knowledge of what is a man and a woman. So really attacking the absolute center of what everything is based on, as far as what is conserved, which is our own sex, which has existed since we're single-celled organisms, probably. And so it's normal that the conservatives would run the complete opposite direction from transformation. And now, because we need both, we need conservation and transformation. If the conservatives run away from transformation completely, that's not good. And if the liberals run completely away from conservation, then that's not good. And the liberals and conservatives need to understand the purpose of their functional meaning as opponent processes that are required as a single system to allow us to exist across time by balancing transformation and conservation. Yeah, so anyway, that's about it. That's basically it. I'm sure I was going to keep going, but I just... The voice of Logos and the breath of Tao is reality. Because if reality is actually comprised of opponent processes, then that would explain why there are no straight lines in the universe. Because everything is trying to find its way between two opponent forces, and the only way to do that in a reality which the only constant is change is to continuously have dialogue. And that's why it's the First Amendment. That's why freedom of speech is the most valuable thing. And you're going to say, well, yeah, we agree with freedom of speech, but we don't like hate speech. Well, hate speech is only going to happen when you're discussing topics of high value. When you're talking about topics that really mean a lot to you and you're very sensitive about, well, that's when someone's going to say something you don't agree with, and to you that will be like the most atrocious thing in the history of language. So obviously it's hate speech. And the problem is that the only time dialogue actually matters is when we're discussing things that are actually very important. And so that is when you're going to have the impression of hearing a lot of hate speech. So it does include hate speech. Because it's the only way that we can move across time and be judged positively by time to move across it, time being the only judge of intelligence and truth, because that which has existed longest across time is by definition what is truth. And to do that, we need dialogue, and with the dialogue, we have conservation and transformation. We have the conservatives and the liberals that together as opponent processes, as beneficial adversaries, not as adversaries, as beneficial adversaries that need each other in order to function properly. The direction of humanity goes in zigzags, it waves, just like frequencies, just like the body of reality itself. So, yeah, I'll finish with that. Make a good day. I hope this helped. I think someday everyone's going to understand what I'm talking about.